Tape Deck Media.
Hi there, I am Kelly Zemnickas, and I am the host of a brand new podcast called Holler and Wine. I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I genuinely love talking to people. And despite the fact that I do not care for the sound of my own voice, I've got a podcast now. So please come join us. We're going to have really good conversations. We're going to talk about cocktails, and I am going to give my guests a tarot card reading because why not? So join us on Holler and Wine. Hope to see you soon. Well, it's a podcast, so it's hear you soon? That sounds weird.
Mr. Ben Tito Caldwell, welcome back.
Mr. Taylor Ruddle, thank you very much.
I always enjoy these guerrilla podcasts that we set up, sitting in front of my very messy...
Oh, mate, honestly, it doesn't bother me at all. I just sneak on in and I'm like, hey, should we do a podcast?
That's right. You did ask me about it, but I it's not that I forgot you were coming down. I just...
you did.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, welcome along. We're not going to mince words today. We're going to have another talk about some local elections as the local elections are coming up. I've got some... that little orange guy on the tape.
I did see the letters there. Yep. I was wondering when you... did you do your details online, or are you going to fill that one out?
Wait, do you have to do it every year?
No, you only have to do it in election years. So basically, if your details are the same as the previous... Yeah, so then all you need to do is just go online and confirm it.
Oh, yeah. So we're learning already.
Easy as.
Great, first step down. I'll do that tonight. We're sort of chatting off pod about some of the differences between like local election and is it national election? What's the other
general election and local elections?
Yeah, and you have some thoughts, and you're sort of talking about this in the sense of wanting to make an advocacy comedy show. I guess, does that mean you have some ideas for what could change, or what are you kind of thinking about at the moment?
So I must first state this, that these opinions are my own, and I do not reflect that of my employer. So there we go. Legally, I'm covered.
We're covered there.
There's heaps of changes that could happen at a local government level, and to be fair, over the past 35, 40 years, local government hasn't been given a lot of love and care and attention by central government. So consistently for probably since 1989, it's received approximately 2.5% of GDP for funding. But the pressure that keeps getting put on councils is more and more, and so they have to do more with less money, effectively.
I'm sure everyone listening has been in that situation before. Yep. No additional compensation. Oh, this person just left. Can you take over all their duties?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of that. In fact,
we need to quiet quit at the at the local government level is what I'm taking from you here.
Yes.
No, I apologize.
No, interestingly enough, so this is how much local government is disrespected by central government. So there was a conference this week that a colleague of mine attended, and it was with the Electoral Commission, and basically the Electoral Commission came out and said, we have no budget to run a national get out to vote campaign this year, so we're putting that responsibility back on your shoulders.
Oh, God.
And it's like, no budget, like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing across the country.
My God.
And so the thing is, like, chief executives of councils, one of their KPIs is to increase voter turnout. And it's like, well, you're not really setting them up for success if you're not giving them the support and the resourcing and the finances to actually be able to achieve that.
Is it one of those problems where more money, like I'm guessing more money would help? Is that to a point where, like, after a certain dollar value, it wouldn't be any more effective? Like, I guess, so if we're getting 2%, 2.5% of GDP, do you know a number where it would sort of be, they'd be in a good spot? Do you know what I mean?
Well, so I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I know that, for example, roughly 35% of New Zealand's infrastructure is owned by councils, right? But it only receives maybe
2.5% of the GDP.
Well, that's of like a GDP that comes on in, but like funding that goes towards it is significantly less than what the private sector gets.
Yeah.
And this government at the moment is looking at regional deals, so like partnering with a collective of councils, or if you're a bigger metro area, partnering with those councils and coming up with these regional deals. But there appears, in my opinion, to be a lot of fish hooks attached to them. And the government is trying to push for this narrative that all these councils are going out and spending a whole heap of money on nice to haves rather than the core business that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But where I live, the council that I used to work for is spending approximately 78% of their rates revenue on core business. So it's only like maybe 22% or 20% that's going towards what is the nice to haves, like cycleways and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, right, I gotta give a shout out to Christchurch City Council. They have nailed cycleways in my opinion. They have absolutely nailed them. I love scootering around in Christchurch on the cycleways here. They're fantastic.
Because the last time you were here, you said you got from like Riccarton into the CBD and you didn't have to leave a cycleway, right?
Didn't have to leave a cycleway. It was perfect. It was so good.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Christchurch City Council, tip of the hat to you. You've nailed cycleways. Please talk to Wellington.
Yeah, and probably some of that is the fact that it's flat here, so it's not a ball ache to cycle up and down hills. I would not cope if I had to cycle in like Dunedin or something. I think I would be. I mean, I'd be shredded, but like I would, if I didn't die first, that that would be the kind of trial by fire there. But we have some really cool ones. We've also got this big long I don't know what you would call it. It's like the road, but for cycles right next to the highway. And I believe you can walk on it as well. I'm not sure.
It's like a shared pathway kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like smooth as anything. It's glorious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that it's good to hear that from an outside point of view, because I know for years there was a whole thing in Christchurch with like no one uses the cycleways and whatever, and it's like, well, maybe because they were dangerous. And I always have been baffled along Papanui Road that the bus and cycle lane is shared. It's like the most vulnerable people on the road and the biggest, one of the biggest vehicles out there, with drivers who I'm guessing are probably underpaid. Let's see what happens if we mix those two up. You know what I mean? Like, nothing could go wrong there.
So I was talking to a roading engineer. So this is why cycleways interest me. so in Fielding, where I live, which is about 20,000 people, we have one cycleway, one designated cycleway,
and that's all we needed back in my day.
But it was done on like quite it appears to be a straight road, but there's lots of nooks and crannies, like it's deviates in and everything like that. So they've done this cycleway, and most people you speak to hate it. And they're like, oh, complete waste of money. There's been death threats from people online saying whoever designed that needs to be shot or something like that. It's really horrendous what's going on. But what was explained to me is that basically what they've done is they've made everything a little bit narrower, because by doing that, naturally, without lowering the speed limit, people will go a little bit more cautiously.
That's really funny, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you go a little bit more cautiously, then everybody's a bit safer. Because basically they're saying if we could do like a blank slate, just build a new road, then no, we wouldn't do it this way. But we've got to work within the confines of the roading like construction of what's already there. But yeah, just lots of people just moaning, going, "Oh well, it's not any good for us road users anymore. It's not any good for car drivers." It's like, what's the point?
It's not for you, yeah.
You've got to balance it out for cyclists. So yeah, I think as I say, Christchurch, the cycleways,
because they've got a curb in between the road and the cycleway, don't they? Which is like
not everywhere, but in a lot of the places.
A lot of the better ones have that, yeah.
Yeah. Or what they've done as well is, instead of having a cycleway on both sides of the road, they'll put it all on one side, and you can just like zoom in and out from the same side
go left
of the road.
and right. Yeah. No, I think I definitely think that I feel vindicated because I was always pro cycleways, and you'd hear all the NIMBYs moaning about it, and it's like, well, just be patient. You know,
They just don't own bikes. That's all.
Yeah, that's it, man. And I was just lamenting how getting into town from the west side to city is quite easy because of the highway, but getting in from north to central is horrific. And I just said to Ben before, how is this such a cars city, and yet it sucks? You know, like going north this I don't know, it's just the I don't understand how would, like, this is actually a good question for you actually. So you were talking about the misinformation, or how people are misinformed about how they think, or what powers they think local government have versus what they don't have, and that kind of thing. Like, maybe to the listeners out there, what are some things you can take to your local government that, like, they actually would have the powers to solve?
So basically, local government is there, and councils are there to ensure that there's local decision making that can impact on your daily life. So at the moment, the sort of key functions that most councils do, not all, some councils don't do some of these things, or they contract it out, but your rubbish and recycling, water services, so the water to your taps, the water from your toilets and showers, and stormwater, your parks services, your libraries, things of that ilk. And basically, it's all about just creating, like, what you want your community to be and have, and how you want it to function and provide for the people that are living there. And people misunderstand local government because they often go to, say, like a councillor and say, I want to get that changed. Yeah. And what they realise is that actually the council don't, like, the councillor or the elected members, this is going to sound really bad, but it's not meant to be. They're not the doers. Yeah. They're the deciders. So basically, you split your council into operations, which is your staff, and then your decision makers, which is your elected members. Right. So if you want something done, go to your staff. Go to the operations side of things.
Not the councillor.
Yeah. So that's where you, like, call the call centre, fill in a fix-it form or whatever it is, right? And say, like, there's a pothole here and I want this fixed. Don't go to your elected member and say, we need to get this pothole fixed, because there's actually very little they can do. Yeah. And so the way that it works is that the elected members will decide on the strategic direction of a council, and they say, these are the outcomes that we want to achieve. You, as the operations team, you go out and achieve those outcomes, and they may give a little bit of direction depending on which council it is. Like, I think Christchurch, the elected members are pretty hands-on when it comes to that. But there's others that are like, you're the experts, we trust you on that, so, like, go and fill your boots. And so long as you get the outcomes achieved, then the council's happy because they look good to their voters. Yeah. But local government's not really set up for success because it doesn't receive enough funding. It doesn't receive enough care and resources from central government. So basically, the analogy that was used is like a child going into school hungry, and then the teacher's turning around and saying, why are you failing? Yeah, yeah. Like, well, because you're not feeding me. That's why.
I don't know if it's a New Zealand-wide thing, but is there a system? It's called something like Snap, Send, Solve or something like that. Is that just Christchurch, or is that everywhere?
So there's versions of it. I'm trying to remember. There's one that's gone around that's quite popular. It's called Anteno. But yeah, there is Snap, Send, Solve with some councils. So it's basically like
you take a photo of something that needs doing. And
and you can do the same with other service providers. We don't have one where we are. We just have, like, you just contact us directly.
You just tell them. Yeah.
Well, we're a small district.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like 8,000 ratepayers and about a population of just under 16,000 or something. So we're tiny.
I always love seeing because we can talk about what you do for your So Ben from Comms is you might know him better as if you're one of his fans. A Tito maniac. I don't know what. Do you have a name for your fans?
No. Apparently there was a group set up of fans of me, but I'm yet to find it on Facebook.
It's a secret group. I am always fascinated with like your post. I remember you were showing me one about you were showing people how to recycle. I think, or what goes in the correct bins. I think was one that you sent me.
Yeah,
and I think there was probably some music and dancing involved over it, and it was so baffling to me that like that people were. You're almost having like a correspondence with people on the, like on the Facebook page. And I just thought that's so funny that like you can just write a message to your council and like probably someone's going to see it. Like it seems very accessible to me. And yeah.
That's the thing is like councils are grassroots democracy. And so we get all sorts of accusations thrown at us like, oh, you work away there in your ivory tower. It's like, you come and look at our fucking office, okay? This is not an ivory tower. There's holes in the wall and there's leaks in the building and everything like that. And yeah, and the thing is as well, I've got a little bit of license in terms of the responses that I go back to people. Like if people are respectful, then they'll get respect back. Likewise, if somebody is disrespectful, then I'm not afraid to have a little bit of a cheeky, sassy reply. And yeah, I do try and kill with kindness, but then with misinformation and disinformation, I treat differently, and I don't know.
What is the difference?
I think the misinformation is people that are just genuinely misinformed, and then you can correct them. Disinformation is deliberate misinformation. So you're deliberately trying to derail the conversation by putting this out in the atmosphere or in the sphere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so misinformation I have a lot more tolerance for, but disinformation,
it's not necessarily their fault if they've been misinformed.
Yeah.
People that are willfully,
and all you do is you're just correcting them. But disinformation, if you're willfully trying to mislead people, then I come down a lot heavier on that.
Yeah.
And I tend to treat disinformation with a bit of disdain.
Adult gloves rather than kid gloves, yeah.
With like a lot of disdain. So you get particularly conspiracy theorists, like 5G and COVID and anything like that. Yeah, just, I got no time for it. And there's no point me wasting any more than sort of like a dismissive gif. No.
You're not gonna undo, 5 years of someone digging in this conspiracy rabbit hole. How amazing would the paragraph you sent them have to be to convince them out of that, right?
You're not. There's no way of getting through them. You can't convince them.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say something about the mayor. Is the mayor like? Is the mayor like in the local government? What is the mayor's relationship to the local council? So the mayor is elected.
And basically, the version of the Prime Minister, I suppose, at a local level, they will sort of lead the elected members in terms of setting the vision for the council, the strategic direction and things like that. They're also like the figurehead for natural disasters and civil defence emergencies and stuff like that. So you'll get them doing a lot of the comms and promotion of what people need to do and things like that, working alongside the civil defence team. But like the best mayors generally have a good handle of relationships, and they know how to relationship build, because in the end, like, while you have your operations staff that are the doers, like the mayor is probably the one that also does the most from a elected member standpoint, in terms of going along to these meetings, building these relationships, making sure that everybody's kind of aligned with a common goal and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's an important job, and you get some absolute chances who just like, I'm going to run for mayor.
Well, so my sort of follow-up question for that, and you talking about the difference of like a doer versus the decision makers is like our mayor at the moment, Phil Mauger, I think his name is. He campaigned on this thing of like, I'm going to get out there in my digger and I'm going to fill the potholes myself and whatever. And I don't know whether it was like he got in for other reasons or if he got in because like, I guess we could spend another podcast talking about like the idea of like, I'll use an example of like, let's say a right-wing party. They will say all these things like law and order and stuff to get people to vote for them, but what does it actually look like in practice is
Yep.
maybe not exactly what the people that voted for them think is going to be. And so I wonder there, like, what is the expectations versus the reality of the people that, because I don't even think I voted in the last local election. I don't even remember when he was voted in.
Yeah.
No, I must have, because I remember, maybe I'm in the wrong. How does the mayor work? Is everyone allowed to vote for the mayor, or is it just your...
So basically, a district or a city will be split up into wards, or they may do at large. So basically, at large means the whole of the city or the whole of the district, and everybody votes on all those candidates. But then if it's split up into wards, say, I don't know what the structure is in Christchurch, but you might have like a northern ward, a southern ward, an eastern ward, a central ward, and a western ward or something like that. And if you live in that area, you can vote for the candidates that are running in that area.
Yeah.
But for the mayor, that is done at large.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you also have Māori wards, which I would think we spoke about last time. So there's...
No, Tahoe's the big one down here.
Yeah. So basically... what they've done is kind of similar to the parliamentary system where they have Māori seats. They've got Māori wards in some places to ensure that there's Māori representation on council, which is I don't think is a bad thing.
No, seems fair to me. Yeah.
Well, it allows for better decision making, and there's a big push at the moment to get rid of them from a lot of people, including sort of members of the government. And it's like this isn't a threat to democracy, and democracy has changed since it was established back in Greece. The democracy has evolved over the years, and why wouldn't this be sort of like a better way of doing things to ensure that there's more representation at the table?
Oh, so the argument they say about not having them is because they think that's like it's essentially having like a bye in a tournament or something, right? They think it's unfairly putting
They feel as though it is a way to basically they're just token roles, and that if you're good enough, you should be able to run and people will elect you. And it's like that's not quite how it works,
No.
So yeah, it's interesting, that debate, but like I have a bit more faith in New Zealanders in the sense that they can recognise when people have been screwed over, and this isn't about revenge or anything. It's about just addressing the balance and just ensuring that there is that perspective at the table and considered as part of those conversations.
It is very different. Like because you're from the North Island, and like without sounding weird, it's like Christchurch is very white, right? And it's like depending on who you talk to, Christchurch is either the most racist place in New Zealand, and it's never going to change, and it's the racism is too deep seated, and it's whatever, or population is growing. There's a lot of sort of like not immigration, but a lot of migration, I guess. Young people are moving to Christchurch, and so I don't know which way it's going. I hope it's the latter, but you hear different takes from, every person that I ask about it has got a different take on it.
Yeah. I remember when I was a teenager living in Nelson, we'd come down to Christchurch a lot, and I didn't like Christchurch at all then. It was generally for rugby reasons though, because I wasn't a Crusaders fan, and coming down to here and like Crusaders and Canterbury rugby fans just annoyed the shit out of me. But having been down here the last few times, I really enjoy the city, and I think that there's a real great vibrancy about it now, and it's a credit to your council as well. Obviously what happened with the earthquakes was awful, and the shining light that came out of that is that it took a while, but there is eventually like a vision for the city that this council has been able to implement. And I think that you're going to be the benefits, it's going to benefit the community for a lot longer heading forward, and we see problems in Wellington with their local government and things like that. Again, it's nice to see that there's progress happening here.
What kind of things are you noticing in Wellington that are sort of like, are they just like things get bogged down and too much bureaucracy to happen, or what? What are some of the stuff you've noticed?
No, it's like they've got a Green Party mayor, and
Is that Tori Whanau?
yes,
Oh,
yeah. And
is she resigning, or is she sticking around?
she's not standing for mayor at the next election, but she's
Gotcha.
going to stand in the Māori ward.
Oh yeah.
But she's getting the blame for essentially what was 30 years of underinvestment in water infrastructure and infrastructure in general around Wellington. And I get into this debate a lot because I'm a progressive liberal lefty. And I say to people, the reason why your infrastructure is failing is because you had centre-right leaning mayors that artificially kept rates low. And they did that by not investing in infrastructure. And now you've got a mayor that's part of a wider group that's actually trying to go in there and fix it all.
Yeah.
But you're blaming her for the decisions of the past. She's received some horrendous and horrible abuse and more scrutiny than I think, say, somebody like the Auckland mayor has.
Yeah.
Which it just shows that we've still got a way to go.
Yeah.
Particularly like strong female leaders and strong wahine Māori leaders as well.
Was Tori the one that was copping a bit of flack for like not necessarily dining and dashing, but she was a bit like maybe she was intoxicated in public or something and walked out on a thing.
Yeah.
I just want to put this out there. Don't fucking act like you've never done that. The people that is the most fucking Kiwi battler thing I've ever heard a public figure do. If you're one of the people that was giving a flack about that, I'm not saying you should do that, by the way. However, fuck off. I know so many people that have done worse shit than that in their time.
I just look at it in the fact that she was accountable for it, and you look at a lot of other politicians, central government, in terms of other politicians and what they've done, and they try and deflect and pass on accountability. But she stepped up, she owned it, she admitted to like having some issues, and I think that's a trait that more politicians should probably have.
So this is great. This leads into something actually. You've seen my reels taking the mickey out of the way the politicians don't. I mean, particularly it's Christopher Luxon, but I've also attempted other characters. Why is it you think that politicians dance around questions like that? Like, is it the sort of thing where the way politics functions and with the press and stuff, if they sort of like commit to something or something is put in writing that they said in an interview, is that something that would sink a politician? Or just what are your thoughts on why they all have to be so like elusive? Yeah,
it's basically, for me, it's a communications tactic. And so my job is obviously comms, but you're always trying to leave yourself wiggle room to be able to say, oh, well, I didn't commit to that, or, oh, well, we never said that we were going to do that. And it frustrates me, and I don't think politics should be played that way. I think that if you say you're going to do something and it doesn't happen, but there's reasons for why that doesn't happen, I'd much rather you said, okay, for example, I'm running for... If I run for an election and I go in and say, right, I'm gonna make sure that this project here gets delivered on time and under budget, right? And then something pops up like a COVID, right? Or maybe not even COVID, but like you run into issues along the way that means that you don't hit your budget and you don't hit your time frame, right? You just go up and say, hey, I said that we were going to do this. I didn't deliver it on time, but we have delivered it. Right, and we've had all these challenges along the way, right? And people see that as a weakness because you didn't do what you said that you were going to do, right? And not understanding that real world throws up all sorts of fuck ups.
I know, right?
They're beyond your control.
This is what I hate so much is like it seems like people in New Zealand and probably worldwide as well, when they're talking about politicians, or once they go, fucking crooked politicians, whatever, but then they try to hold them to these standards of like, I'm really disappointed in you. And it's like, well, you talk about these people like they're the scum of the earth. Yeah. It's like, you've got to pick one. Are they our best and brightest, or are they all corrupt? And like, you can't have it both ways, I always feel like. And that always frustrates me. But like, I think it's the problem is the under education of the public and how like politics works, and then also the nobody wants to ever be wrong or admit, like people still see admitting you're wrong about something as like, oh no, you shouldn't have done that. That was, you know, that's like a weakness. And I mean, you know, think about how many people in your life you know that can't ever admit they're wrong. How many coworkers you've had in the past who, you know, they'll give you the politicians run around like you've had a coworker where you need to get everything in writing from them, maybe not especially at this job, but like the ones where you have a phone call with them and then you send them an email summing up what you've just talked about, so you've got it in writing. Because you know they'll try to throw you under the bus if, you know, when something goes wrong. I just wish we could fix that about humans, where like it should be fine to say that didn't go how we were thinking. Like it's like, it seems ridiculous to me that it's like, you know, people looking at two candidates and it's like, oh, well, he said he was going to do this and he did it slightly later than he was going to do. Or the other one is like, but he says he's definitely going to do it. And they'd rather go with the one who's going to definitively say it, whatever.
I get frustrated by it too, because I'm just like, just either say yes, you're going to do it, or no, you're not going to do it, and explain the reason why. And I think that the problem that politicians run into at the moment is that they're not very good at explaining the why. They're explaining, we're going to do this, but they're not very good at going into the details and explaining, well, these are the reasons why we think that we need to do this, and then convincing people of that argument. You know, I think we spoke about it last time with the Three Waters stuff. It's like Labor set themselves up for failure on that one by pushing through things without allowing people to have proper scrutiny of everything.
And just saying, oh, just trust us. Like, just trust me.
Basically, right? And instead, if they'd just gone, do you know what, we're going to put this, we're going to make this an election issue. This is it. This is what we believe in, and we're going to push for this, and we're going to convince you of our argument, and if you want it, then you vote for us at the next election. If you don't want it, then you vote for somebody else. And it's a politically risky move to do that, and I understand that. But actually, I would respect politicians and political parties more if they operated more in that way. We're going to give you our vision. If this is what you want, then vote for it.
Yeah, that would be... I would prefer that as well, I think. I think that's what disappoints me about elections at the moment. Like, when is our next general? It's been in about a year or something. A year and a half.
2026, so next year.
Like, I don't look at any of them and I don't feel inspired by any of our kind of standing politicians at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like Chloe. But I'm like, we need like... I'm trying to write a stand-up bit about how we need a left-wing bully, like a guy who's just a real idiot, and he's up there, and like some of the jokes I had in mind about him being like, oh, Chris Luxon, you've only got one wife? That's basically no wives. I've got 6 in my polycule. And like, you know, he's just like an asshole, and he's annoying, and he's wrong about everything.
There needs to be a left-wing Trump.
Yeah, I want a left... We're going on record to say.
Yeah, no, there genuinely needs to be like a left-wing version of Trump that just comes out and says completely outlandish bullshit, and then people go, oh, I don't know what he said, but I really find him entertaining.
Yeah, like we need like a like he wears like a leather jacket, and what is, plays pickleball. That's a pretty popular thing at the moment with I don't know, like sort of business yuppies.
This is basically paddle tennis, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, pretty much. It's like half. Apparently, it's purely economics as to why it's so popular. Is because you can play 4 pickleball games on one full-size tennis court, and so you get more people playing at once. Yep. And that pisses off the tennis players because they want, you know, it's like pickleball from like 10 in the morning till noon or something, and you know, after that they can play tennis. But the pickleball players, you know, you can get like, it's like 4 people on a court, and then you've got 4 of those. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Is the rivalry between pickleball players and tennis players a little bit like the comedians versus improv?
Probably is, like it probably is. I think as well, I have to imagine it would be like the tennis players are like, why are you playing this fake baby tennis? Like, it's almost like, I wondered if there was much of a rivalry between table tennis and tennis players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it a kind of like, I'm trying to think of a bit like almost like mini golf versus golf. You know what I mean? If someone was a golf player and they're like, "Oh, you just play mini golf," like that's the water polo or polo versus water polo. I don't know. Like you can't even afford a horse; you've got to use a human for that.
Oh, imagine water polo, but you actually like ride on somebody swimming on.
I want to take regular polo, but I want to put the horses in the water, and then I want water polo, but the person on the bottom has to run. I think that'd be fun.
They've considered that, but the horses were shitting in the pools too much.
Yeah, that's you do
it became a little bit brown.
Yeah, you set yourself up for a bit of failure there, don't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the issue that I want is like I want our left wing parties to be more left wing than they are, because like I feel like our right wing parties are like they get to be like right wing and crazy and whatever. Not crazy, that's slanderous, but you know what I mean. I disagree with them.
You said it, not me.
And whereas the left wing one, it's almost like they want to be centre left more than left, I guess, because like the whole housing thing in New Zealand is cooked, because like I think there are a lot of people that own like another house that they rent out, and so the vibe I got from the last elections was that Labour were hoping that a lot of people in that kind of camp would come over to their side, but then I think tax cuts for landlords was like the first thing that this government did. So it's like, well, exactly. Obviously people are going to go for that if they've got, so.
I think as well, like, it's been interesting talking to colleagues. So the centre right, the far right and the far left are actually closer to one another than they are to the centre. Because even though they're ideologically opposed, they're united in their loathing or determination to hate government and authority. And so basically you get these... I'm part of a group on Facebook. I won't say because I want to protect my anonymity. Mm-hmm. But I get to see like crazy conspiracies from far left and far right, and what are the
left wing conspiracies? I'm curious about this.
Well, left wing conspiracies like
vaccines and stuff, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say that's left wing, but like sort of like globalist agenda and kind of thing like that. Right. And the right wing conspiracies are more like taxes are a con, and they're illegal, and the soft-sit movement. But like, if I could sum it up, like when it comes to Titiriti politics, generally far left people are more supportive of Titiriti, and far right anti-Titiriti. Yeah. Right. But you'll see them uniting on other things that are opposing authority. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting seeing that as a dynamic working, because you think, well, actually, like, how are you forming that sort of partnership to go after that? And what's happened with the left is it's splintered, because this is one thing that with identity politics, I think that has really hindered collaboration and partnership on achieving a common goal. Yeah. So, you will get people that will say, I cannot associate with you because you don't support this cause, or you don't agree with this. Yeah. Whereas what the right has done really well is gone, okay, what's the end goal? Let's just park all that stuff there. Let's go after that. And that's where it's gone really well. And I think that it's not so much that the left needs to be more left.
They need to get on the same page about stuff.
They need to get on the same page and just come up with some common goals. And it's really easy for people on the right to go, oh, well, all you'll focus on is woke ideologies and, like trans issues and things like that. Yeah. Right. And not saying that you shouldn't be supportive of it, but your main narrative is like, hey, our people in this country are getting royally fucked over by inequality. Yeah. Financial inequality. Right? Yeah. So what are we going to do to address that? We're going to put up a fair taxation system. We're going to ensure that public services are funded properly. We're going to ensure that education is a key part of a child's, thing. And if you focus on those things, right, the other things that happen, they'll follow, because people over this side won't be pissed off that they're having to wait 8 hours in A&E to be served by a doctor, they're not going to be pissed off about the fact that they then have to pay school fees, every year for their child to go to school. They're being looked after. They're going to care less about whether or not Māori have a seat at the table of a council table or at Parliament, or if people are going and getting funding for changing like gender dysmorphia and stuff like that. So I think that just like a little bit of a switch around. It's not to say that those things aren't important. They are, but your focus and priority needs to be on making sure that inequality is addressed first. Yeah. Which easier said than done, and it is, I'm probably pissing off a lot of people with that sort of thing.
It's always fascinating to read about left wing part. Like we watched Peaky Blinders, and Thomas Shelby was like a member of Parliament, and he was like a left wing kind of workers' rights one, and I sort of was like, that left wing like ideology from then would almost be right wing today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the way times change.
Yeah.
And that's I definitely want that kind of thing, because it's like you say, like if everything as a whole is kind of doing better, it's like then the quality of life for I would say most people would rise up. The scary thing is that when you're listing off all these things like better education, better than that, it's like that kind of is what the right-wing parties say as well, but it's like they both want the same thing, but it's just how do we get there is very different.
Left-wing is very collective approach, and right-wing is very individual approach. And there's no reason why there can't be some middle ground where like absolutely people have individual freedoms and stuff like that. But I mean, collectively working together, like when it goes to taxation, right? One of the groups that I sort of have butt heads with is the Taxpayers Union, right? And they're basically of the idea that if you tax people less, they'll have more money and they'll be able to spend their money however they want. But tax isn't a bad thing.
No, and I guess to sort of steelman that argument a little bit, like a lot of the right-wing arguments, the idea is that like if people get wealthy, then they create jobs, which is true to an extent, but from what I've seen anyways, is very anecdotal. It's like it doesn't mean anything if those companies are being trying to run everything as cheaply as possible and squeeze every kind of like penny out of the thing at the expense of the workers. I sort of look at it's like, okay, sure, they're creating jobs, but they're fucking shit jobs, like that's kind of my like, I can see why people think that someone accumulating wealth and starting a business creates jobs, but it's like that you need to have they create good and desirable, fulfilling jobs. Like it doesn't, it's like a job's a job, right? But if the people who are working it hate it, then what's the point? You might as well not have it then, is kind of my thinking.
Yeah. The that collective thing with tax though. I mean,
yes. I just steamrolled you there.
No, you're all good.
I apologise.
It's all good. Like I hopefully, touch wood, I'll never get cancer. Right? Hopefully I'll never get cancer or something like that. Right? But I'm paying towards a tax system that ensures that people that do get cancer get some level of treatment. Now, we can debate whether or not they get enough treatment or if they get the right treatment, whatever. But there is something there for those people that are going through cancer, right? I'm not like sitting here going, oh, well, if I didn't pay that amount of money towards my taxes, I could hang on to that and then fuck those people that do get cancer kind of thing. Yeah. But unfortunately, there seems to be an attitude at the moment, and maybe like not to the extent with cancer, but with other things where like, oh, well, that should just be individual responsibility. You know, that should be like up to yourself. Like school lunches is a perfect example. Yeah. Right. And people saying, oh, should be the parents' responsibility to do it. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't we as a society like be happy for a school to provide a lunch? Yeah. Which like it makes parents' jobs so much easier. Yeah. Right. And when we're saying that, there's more we want parents to take more responsibility for their children. If they didn't have to worry so much about providing lunches and stuff like that and actually spending more time with their kids. Yeah. Because at the moment, most parents that are out there are having to work jobs, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Both parents, yeah.
I'm, you know, in a relationship at the moment where both parents are working, you know, so that's 66 hours a week between us that we're working, which is not time that we're spending with our kids.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard the argument with that school lunches thing where people are like, oh, but what are those kids that eat lunch when they, or that, you know, they have breakfast in the mornings and then they go to, and it's like, do I really give a fuck if a kid's eating twice a day? Like, that sounds great to me. Like, fuck, like you were saying before, like, and I think universally one of the things that left and right government both agree is that, like, hungry kids struggle in school. And so, do I give a fuck if if they get to eat twice? Fuck no. Great. No. Get after it. Yeah.
No, I think that there will hopefully be a bit of a shift. And I think that I suppose, like, the reality of the past couple of years is starting to bite home a little bit for people. Yeah. You know, and I think that it'll be interesting to see how that balance gets addressed.
Yeah, because, like, I saw it written perfectly online where it's like once we were out of COVID and there was sort of, it's kind of like, okay, we voted for the government that wanted to preserve lives, and there was the left-wing government now, and everybody knew, the economy's going to take a hit and it's going to be tough and whatever, but, you know, we all collectively decided that keeping people alive was the priority for the country. And then it was like we went through the fuck around part, and then when the find out part of, like, oh, the economy's suffering, it's like, well, yeah, didn't we know this was going to happen? Like, we all kind of decided that collectively, but I'm not saying it's good. I wish it wasn't as well, but I am glad that as a country we chose to, like, you know, try to keep everyone healthy and alive. Especially when you remember those days when you could flip through that. You remember Italy had the first kind of big thing, and you were flipping through the newspaper and it's just obituary after obituary after obituary. It's like, I'm very glad we didn't have that here.
Yeah. Oh, mate, honestly, I think that it's still pretty raw for people, but give it 10 years and people look back and go, actually, do you know what? That government did fucking well. Yeah. You know, and they did. And by Hipkins' own admission, he was on a podcast recently that I watched, and he said that they probably,
like, overdid it, right?
I can't remember his exact wording, but basically, like, once COVID got into the community, like the Omicron got into the community.
That was the really infectious one, eh?
Yeah, it was basically like, hey, this isn't our responsibility anymore.
You're right.
And we should have, like, taken less of a hands-on approach to that. Yeah. Basically, they're still trying to go with, like, an approach where they could control the virus, and like, at that point they should have said, look, no, we've done what we can to protect people, so, like, it's now up to people to protect themselves. But yeah, I just think that it's interesting, like, how COVID conspiracies have developed into, like, other conspiracies about local government as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh man, there's some absolute doozies out there as well. And so my advice, or sort of like my call to arms for people out there is, okay, first off, go and fucking vote in the local elections.
So this is great, actually. We do have to start wrapping up. Shortly. So I was going to say, what if you could just put a message out there to people as to, like, what they should do? But it sounds like you already got that. So go for it.
Go and vote in your local elections, right? And make sure you research the candidates properly. Okay. Go along to candidate evenings, watch the videos, read about them, know what their affiliations are as well, okay? Because there's a lot of people that are going to try and sneak under the radar that are not necessarily acting in the best interest of the community. They're acting in the best interest of themselves. And be suspicious of anybody that says, oh, we're going to cut rates, because the cost of business is going up, or the cost of, like, core business is going up, your power, your construction costs and everything like that. Those aren't going to get any lower. Right, so if somebody says that they're going to cut rates, like, cool, what services are you cutting? Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to cut rates. And then,
a lot of them say they're going to, like, there's going to be no rates increases. A lot of them say that. And
I know. And
so that's kind of like a red flag for you. Is like,
that's a massive red flag.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and like, also, like, if you're thinking about running for council, Like, and you think, oh, well, I don't have business acumen or anything like that. You don't need it.
No,
right?
neither does a lot of them.
No, you genuinely don't need it. What you need is good people skills, good relationship skills, the ability to critically think, right? And financial acumen, yes. If you understand finances, that can be a benefit. But a lot of business people who go into local government or go into government, they get really frustrated because they're like, well, actually, this isn't a business. This is a community service, you know, and they go on in and they think, oh, well, I've got no other way of making money other than raising rates.
Yeah.
Or putting up the costs of services.
Put it on a sausage sizzle.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't that be grand if we could do that?
Yeah.
Is it they're literally not allowed to raise any money that way, or
there's very few tools that councils have in order to raise revenue. So one of the things that Wayne Brown from Auckland's trying to do is like I'm not sure if it was like a bedroom tax or something like that, but basically for Airbnb owners and hoteliers and things like that, or private owners of businesses to like put a tax on the visitors that are coming in so that way it can raise a bit more money. True. And there's very, very little that they can do other than raise rates or hope like hell that there's a bit of extra money coming from the government, which this government signalled no. And to be fair, it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum the government's been on. Like
that hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. Yeah. There was a bit more probably goodwill from the previous government, but it didn't necessarily.
So they still weren't being like, no,
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, all right. Any councillors out there want me to put on a sausage sizzle? We'll put on a bouncy castle. I'll do some comedy. Hit me up. You know how to reach me. Genuinely, like, is that illegal to do, or like, are they? Is it just?
So actually, interestingly enough, there was a story this morning about a candidate at a council that is offered people free car parks if they vote for him, and he's been told like, no, that is actually bribery. You cannot do that.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah. So I mean, there's if you're thinking about running for election, go to the I think it's the Electoral Commission website. There's information from there. The LGNZ website, Vote NZ. There's information there. Go to your local council websites. Get information from there and just find out more about what it is. Perfect people for running or being on council, ones that have served on committees because they've got governance experience, they know how to work with other people, they're keen on achieving outcomes, and they can give direction to people to get those outcomes.
Fantastic. Do you want to plug anything for yourself?
I don't have anything coming up.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Okay.
I've taken a little bit of a step back from comedy, but yeah, I'll be getting back into it. I will have a show about working in the public sector soon, so
nice.
Just keep an eye out for that.
Keep your eye out on that. Cool. Thanks for having a yarn, Ben. We had better get going, so we'll catch you the next time you're in town for another Guerrilla podcast.
Cheers, bro. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favourite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
Top of the day, everyone. I'm Nisha.
And I'm Buddha Badass.
And we're the hosts of Hot Garbage True Crime Edition. Do you guys like true crime?
I really don't. I feel like you force me on this show every freaking time I come here.
Do you guys enjoy listening to victims and murderers and grotesque stuff?
People that are sick in the freaking head, that's who likes it. That's who likes it.
Well, if you like that kind of stuff, then you should totally check us out. I mean, every single Thursday, we drop the most hottest cases, and we have fun while doing it.
You drop the most hottest cases? You drop murder and death. Kill.
How many people can actually say that they have fun while listening to a true crime podcast? And I feel like that's what we do here.
So you're just not going to listen to me now? I'm just going to say this and you're not going to listen to me?
And you know what? Our listeners are not just our listeners, but they're our friends and our trash pandas. We love you guys.
They're a lot, and I will agree to that part, but I'm still just mad at you for just not talking to me. They're paying you this well to say all this.
So check out Hot Garbage on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Check us out every single Thursday. A new episode drops.
I officially hate this commercial. On some real.